Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Talkin Knicks. We got a good episode for you guys tonight. 3-game winning streak this week, 4-game winning streak overall. Hey, let's talk Knicks. So I'm here with Jake and Kenny, my brother. And, how are you guys doing? Jake, we've been waiting for you for about 20 minutes to start the pod. Me and Kenny's been sitting here. So what have you been up to?
Yeah, I've been having a nice weekend. I went skiing yesterday at Keystone, and then today we went to a dog park. Been doing some errands. Nice little Sunday, and I think more noticeably, as I pass it to Ken, me and Ken have swaggy Nick hats on, and Greg, you look like a fool right now.
Hey, I can't even argue that. Kenny?
Is my winter Knicks hat because it's winter now. My weekend. We had our office Christmas party on Friday, which is always fun. Like the party wrapped up and the open bar was over, and like one of my friends talked to me and a couple other people into staying, and I bought the first round, and then no one drank it and everyone left.
Nice.
It's like what the hell is that about, man?
You got.
Like, yeah, I got real good. And then I spent the last 2 days working. So here we are. Sunday night.
And Greg, after hearing the smack talk, has put on one of the most noticeable hats in the history of the world.
I put on a Santa Claus hat.
Is that the most recognized hat in the world?
That or the Yankees hat? One of those two?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah. Tough, right? You got
has Jay-Z ever worn a Santa hat? I don't know, but he has worn a Yankees hat. So
yeah, I think it's the Santa hat. I'll go with Jake on this one.
First argument on Talkin Knicks today.
All right, well let's get into it. I had a good weekend too. We don't need to talk about it.
Let's hear it.
All right. I went to New York City where the Knicks were playing. The city was a buzz. Yeah. New York City in the wintertime is crazy. You think there'd be no one there because it's cold, but everyone's there instead.
It's stupid. It's more packed in the winter than the summer because everyone goes and does like outside stuff in the summer. It's mind-boggling.
Yeah,
bottling.
I think
you got to go to Rockefeller Center and see the tree and do the ice skating. You know, people do that stuff. Lots of lights everywhere.
It's Rockefeller.
It's nice.
Yeah, I actually, my friends live, I don't know, like a 15-minute cab from Grand Central. And I just walked over there because I was like, I got to walk through Times Square right now just to look at it.
No.
And so I did that, and I was like, oh, I should have gotten a cab.
That's like my nightmare.
Yeah, so I did that. And now let's talk Knicks. All right.
Let's talk Knicks.
4-game winning streak.
4 games.
Hawks, Lakers, Nets, Thunder. Big time. Where to start? Where do we start? We start at the beginning, I guess. Win over the Lakers this week was, I would say it was the best game to watch this season, unless you were like, except for the pulling on the heartstrings that the Knicks were doing. It was a lot of fun to watch. Great basketball game if you're an outside observer. As a Knicks fan, they kind of blew it at the end of regulation, which was scary, and so you were nervous the whole time, but they pulled it out. Lonzo and KP put on a show for a little bit. Lonzo's show was about 2 minutes long. KP's lasted the entire game, so that was fortunate. Kenny, what'd you see? Let's talk about what Kristaps did. 37 points, is that right?
Yeah, that's about right. And I know I missed last week, but I've been saying it, a few pods before that he had kind of fallen off with efficiency in terms of shooting. Not the case against the Lakers. He went 14 for 26 for his 37 points, and he started 5 for 5 from 3, and some of them were just like ridiculous. End of the shot, like just pull up and hit them. So that was exciting to see. But also, not only the 37 points, but he had 11 rebounds and 5 blocks. So like just an all-around good game for him.
Yeah, that's true. 5 blocks is good. And he came out hot. He cooled down for, I don't know, like 2 minutes. And I was like, this guy, he's not hot anymore. This sucks. And then he was just on fire the rest of the game. Yeah.
And the big thing that the people were talking about was, I guess, that some Instagram or Twitter model had like followed him and she was at the game. So everyone's like, oh, he's going to go off just to impress this random Instagram chick. And he did. So,
I would have done the same. Jake,
I'll speak of someone who would not have done the same. I would have done what Brandon Ingram did, going 2 for 12.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, the Lake Show was exciting. We knew that the Garden's been turning up lately, and if the Lakers come to town on almost any year, especially with the Lonzo show and all that, I'll say it was kind of cool that we got to see Lonzo for 40 minutes, because there's been the nights that he really doesn't have it shooting, they just bench him and play their better players, Josh Clarkson. Not even hating on Lonzo. I think he's going to be. I don't think he's going to be. I think he's going to be a very good player. But yeah, other Knicks that just need the shout out. Bench Mob did their thing. Beasley 6 for 13, McDermott 5 of 11, O'Quinn 4 of 4, Frank Nitti 5 of 11, Baker 0
Frankie
for 1.
baby.
But
Baker
I mean,
0 for 1.
The bench. Let's see, quick math: 38, 42 points from the bench. So
sounds good.
Give the
KP
bench
scored 37, so
it's 44.
Right. Yeah, I'm not a numbers guy. So the bench did their thing. That cool to say? I don't know.
Yeah, and let's get back to Brandon Ingram, because this is Talking Lakers, and I got a funny thing to say. I've never seen someone look as good and be as bad as Brandon Ingram was in that game.
Nice.
All right, now let's keep going with the Knicks.
So let me just jump in, because I know one of the things that that Jake mentioned quickly was like how exciting the atmosphere was, and I think you mentioned it too, Greg. And how about that stretch where like neither team missed for like a 3-minute period, and they just kept going back and forth? Like That's exciting basketball on national TV. Like that has to be exactly what the NBA is looking for.
I think each team scored on 3 straight possessions, so that's 6 straight possessions without a miss. And that was the Lonzo takeover as well. He hit a deep 3, then he drove and finished lefty. So Lonzo doing anything, the place is going to be getting buzzy. And then Kristaps hit he hit a 3, and then Cantor scored twice, I think, is what happened. So that was good stuff. And there were a lot of Laker fans there, and they were loud too. So that was fun because the place was loud, but you'd rather be hearing it from the Knicks fans.
Rather have the Knicks fans. But the Nets can relate.
Ooh.
Hey, good segue, unless anyone else has anything to say.
That's our segue.
No, that's a nice transition. Holy smokes.
The Nets game. We won that one too. It was a little nerve-wracking. Kristaps got injured. Is that true? Was that the game?
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Beginning of the second half, just didn't really look like anything happened. He was just like, all right, I need to come out of the game, and he was walking gingerly. Apparently he's got a sore knee. Apparently he's had a sore knee before, earlier in the preseason, I guess. I don't know.
What's up with that? Kristaps keeps bringing up like sounding like big time injuries. He's like, oh yeah, my elbow's super messed up. Yeah, my knee's been jacked up for a while. What's up, dude?
That was the thing about that injury, is like no one had any idea what was going on. Like he just like walked off the court, was like, yeah, I gotta come off. And then like he walked in the locker room with like the trainer and the strength coach, and like everyone was like, all the announcers just like, oh, this looks really serious. And I don't know what's happening. And then they came back and they said he wasn't coming back in because of knee soreness. And like, what does that even mean?
Yeah, whenever anyone says a knee injury, you're scared. Immediately you're thinking torn ACL out for a year. But we avoided that, I think.
Especially.
Yeah. So Courtney Lee led the way with 27 points. Ron Baker led the way defensively with some key defensive plays. I know we all may not be Team Ron Baker every night, but he did a good job on the defensive end. So what'd you see from Courtney Lee and Ron Baker, Kenny? Let's hear it.
Probably not going to talk about Ron Baker because I don't talk about Ron Baker, but Courtney Lee, man. Courtney Lee this entire year has just been like the unsung hero. I know the last, few weeks he's just been getting buckets and scoring very efficiently. Like 27 points on 9 of 17. I think he was 3 or 4 shooting the three. Like, the guy gets buckets, and there was that was another thing with like there was a few break points, and like the game was getting a little sloppy, and Frank hit him with that bounce pass from like under his own basket, and he just hit a open break three. It was like, that's great. Like, that's things that people just don't do enough, is just pull up for three on a fast break. Love to see it. Ron Baker, like, I'll give it to him. He played some solid basketball. Like, I don't like to say that because I have just a general dislike for kind of the stupid stuff that he does a lot. And I think a lot of Knicks fans like him way more than they should, but that's just me. So, Jake, take it over.
Yeah, Jake, say some nice things about Ron Baker if you can.
I will. Hi, Ron. Love your kids' book. No, he man, it's kind of hilarious because I'm trying to remember a person that can look so Mindaugas Kuzmiskis, a person that can look so lost at some moments, but look like Ron Baker like dominated a brief period of that game, which again is mind-numbing to a degree. The only other thing I think I'd like to say about Courtney Lee, and by the way, this is going to be a little recurring theme you're going to see from me, just Michael Beasley, 7 from 16, 15 points, whatever, just out of nowhere. But Frank Nitti with the best plus minus. But dude, Courtney Lee, I think, and I was trying the best way to put it into words, I think the best comparison would be when, to start the year, we said Doug McDermott wasn't making his open shots. Like, he was too open almost, like he was still fitting in. Courtney Lee makes every shot he's supposed to make.
Yeah.
Does that sound dumb? Like, whenever he gets the open, like, kick out three, he just buries it.
Yeah, that's true.
That's
He's a good ball player.
Yeah, that's again a lot better than me. Yeah, Bench Mob did their thing again. Frank Nitti had the best plus minus and just covered the stat sheet. 7 points, 8 assists, 5 boards, 2 steals. And then Kylo Quinn with a casual 9 points, 10 boards, 2 blocks. Ron Baker with 2 blocks, by the way, too. So how about that? Ron Baker,
big one.
Yeah, he had a huge block on Karis LeVert after that little scrum that you didn't know what was going to happen, and LeVert came out with the ball somehow, went up for a layup that was going to make it either a tie game or maybe for the lead for them. I don't know. Don't remember perfectly, but Ron Baker swatted it, so it doesn't matter. And going back to that, the bench mob you're talking about, the bench mob and the role players we should be talking about as well. When Kristaps went out, Knicks were up 65-57. Then the Nets went on a 20-8 run to take the lead, so 77-75. And at that point, you're worried. You're saying Kristaps is out, THJ is out, and they just made this run. This game is not looking good. You're scared you're going to lose that. And then being able to right the ship and pull out that W, the Nets are as Kenny would say, a sneaky, not terrible team. Is that the right wording, Kenny?
Yeah, because like everyone, when they made that, or when Boston made the trade to get their pick, everyone was like up in arms about how they just got like a top pick. And if you look at this team, and it's a bunch of players who are like actual NBA players as compared to last year when they weren't. Like, none of them are superstars, but all of them belong on an NBA roster, and most of their starters deserve to be NBA starters. Like DeMar Carroll, Alan Crabb, and Hollis Jefferson, like, those are pretty good players. So, like,
yeah, Hollis Jefferson's good, but he had a career game against us, so I think our idea of him may be skewed. But I will say he is a good player, and it was the Cavs. Cavs getting that pick from Boston. You said Boston.
Yeah. Other way around. Yeah. But the thing about Hollis Jefferson is he's only 22, so like I think he's going to be a good player. Like, he's still young, so yeah, that's what I was getting at.
Well, thanks for coming to Talkin Nets. We appreciate it. Yeah, Nets are a good team. That was a good victory. Jake, you got any parting words, or should we move on to our biggest victory of the week, I guess?
You guys hit it all for me.
I mean, I want to kind of do the segue again because I'm feeling good about my segue so far. But like, you had worries this game about being able to score without Tim Hardaway Jr. and then Kristaps goes down. We scored 111 points in this game. We also scored 111 points in the Thunder game. Take it away, Greg. Go.
Wow. Kenny transitions.
What a coincidence. That's perfect. Thunder. Supposed to be good. Aren't good. But this is a good win. This is Carmelo Anthony returning to the Garden. He was our best player for the last 6.5 years, other than maybe Amari Stoudemire for half a season. But great win. We didn't have Tim Hardaway Jr., didn't have Kristaps, both out with injuries. So this seemed like a lost cause, kind of. We've seen this story before. See the Pacers game where we lost by 18 after going down by 38. But we actually pulled this one out. Our division rivals, maybe rivals, loosely used as a term, the 76ers did a good job of tiring out the Thunder and losing, which is also good for us.
Yeah, win-win, lose-lose.
So, triple overtime, second night of a back-to-back. So Thunder may have been a little tired, but we're not sympathetic to that. We decided to beat them anyway. So I watched the game today. You guys might have watched it live. So what'd you see, Jake? Let's talk about Melo first and foremost, obviously.
If we were all Melo, man, it was good to see him back. He started off okay, and then he really lost it. Clyde was letting into him because Clyde likes to get into his fun words. He kept saying herky and jerky, something like that. He didn't like the way Melo was playing. It wasn't crazy. The only thing Melo did kind of outside of his realm was he had that one offensive foul, which we all debated when he who did he toss? Was that
Jarrett Jack?
Yeah, it was Jarrett Jack.
That was JJ. But yeah, that was the only play where it looked like Melo was trying to do too much. I think we're a no hate to Melo crew, more or less. But yeah, the Knicks played pretty well, and at the final time I gotta say it, which / Greg, you made the joke that we have to talk about this person for half the podcast. Michael Beasley goes 11 for 18. We've got no Zinger, no Tim Hardaway Jr. And this guy, like, I don't know, man, 30 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 blocks. I told Tom, and Tom gave me some guff with his darn nerdy stats and all that. But, dude, when Beasley's on, it's lefty LeBron stuff. It's not as imposing, but, man, it's like he's figured out a certain craft to his game that is mean. He can, from that jab step, he can do anything and everything.
Yeah, he was dishing and swishing too.
Dishing and swishing. Yes. Like Ron Baker, casual 3 of 4 from 3. Dougie Fresh also turnover with his fresh, and then he turned on his he went for fire with that one shot, which was kind of ugly, but we love that. We'll always support that.
I don't support that.
I will. And we'd be remiss if the gentleman Melo took out Jarrett Jack with 12, 7, and 8, 3 steals. I mean, again, I'd say it almost every pod, but this is a dude that a lot of people didn't think was like going to make the team out of camp.
We got lucky. Joe Kim did steroids.
Yeah, thanks, Joe Kim, and they paid off for Joe Kim too. So I don't know. The Garden was good. The final 2 minutes for the Thunder were 2 of the worst minutes of like NBA basketball I've seen. So it's been
their thing all year.
Yeah. The Thunder are a little out of sorts. And it was good seeing, everyone's doing the, Melo returns to the Garden, blah, blah, blah. Doug McDermott and Cantor are playing against their old guys. I mean, especially Cantor. He was really a part of that team. So it was a good W to get.
Yeah, and bringing it back to Melo, Kenny, I'd like to hear you talk about him too. He was 5 for 18, 12 points. Started out with 7 points, and I think like the first 5 minutes or so. Had another 5 points in the first half. Went scoreless in the second half. They had a nice little tribute to him. Heard a good amount of cheers, some boos, but then when he started touching the ball during the game, he was hearing boos because the people who were boo when you touch the ball, but people don't just cheer whenever someone touches the ball. So that allowed them to be more audible. So what did you think about Melo as a Knicks player? How did you want him to be received, and what did you think about the game?
I am one of kind of the biggest Melo supporters out there. I just think he went out there for like 7 years and just he played hard and he played well. And if you look at some of the teams that he played on, they were just like, I don't know what people how people look back on those teams. I think all they really realize is he was on those teams and they didn't do well, so they think he underachieved. But like, even if you look at that team that was second in the East, like their second best player was like J.R. Smith, and then they had a bunch of like good players, but none of them were great. Like they had old Jason Kidd and like Baron Davis for about 5 minutes, and Rasheed Wallace for 5 minutes, Kenyon Martin for 5 minutes. Like all of these guys were way past their prime, and then they came in second in the East. And I feel like people just don't really appreciate how kind of mediocre a lot of his supporting casts were. As far as what I would have liked it if people kind of just really went crazy and cheered for him. At the end, when the Knicks were up 15 and they sub Melo out, like he heard some boos. Like I would have appreciated it if like he got some cheers at that point. But Lee had a good quote at the end of the game. They asked him about the boos, and he was just like, "Yeah, well, he's wearing the other team's uniform, so that's how it works."
Hey,
so
you're not on my team. I agree.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, if it was a close game, that's fine. They took him out with like 5 seconds to go in a 15-point game. Like, give the man a round of applause.
Yeah, I think it was like 1 second because it was a shot clock violation. So it was it was like also kind of annoying. They might have been booing Billy Donovan for doing that.
Or maybe Thunder fans booing Melo's game. I don't know.
Yeah, we don't know. There's a lot of Laker fans there the other day. Maybe it was full of Thunder fans too.
Or
Jake, were your friends there?
Those same Laker fans just stayed the week.
And that's just rooting for the Thunder for some reason.
They just hate the Knicks now. Yeah, that was no fun.
Yeah, Kenny, Michael Beasley was pretty good. We have to talk about him for half every pod. I want to point out how good he is at finishing right-handed. It's pretty wild. He just scoops. He could pretty much just do anything, righty. It's kind of weird. I don't have much more input than that, other than he was dishing and swishing.
What I don't get about Beasley is like, he's a volume shooter, but like he has been shooting remarkably efficiently. Like he shot 11 for 18 this game, 2 for 2 from 3. And it's like, that's not what I would expect from him. I would expect him shooting around like 40-45% and getting his points on, just shooting a lot. I will say the way he gets his points a lot of times is kind of in that Melo mold where he'll get the ball on the like right side, he'll drive and he'll do a pull up, and it's like, all right, that's cool, but it doesn't really get the rest of the team involved. So we're going to talk about this more later, but that's just kind of my opinions on the OKC game for Beasley.
Are we going to talk about this more later? I feel like I'm in charge of the pod.
Are we? If not, I have more to say.
I didn't know this was scheduled. Well, the one thing I'll say is I think people have been passing more. Or I think people in that role have been passing more. Beasley was looking to pass before Kristaps got injured. He had 4 assists already in the first half. And that brings us to what I want to talk about, which is it'll bring in what you said we're going to talk about. Jeff Hornacek doing a good job.
Jeff Hornacek.
This guy, without Tim Hardaway Jr. and Kristaps for the last game and a half, and pulled out 2 wins and 4-game win streak with this team without Tim Hardaway Jr. I mean, not the most impressive victories, but everyone thought the Cavs winning streak was cool, even though they didn't beat anybody. So this winning streak's cool too. What are your thoughts? You can talk about that passing thing again now, I guess, Kenny. If you think it relates to Jeff Hornacek.
I think it does, because it's pretty much like you said, pretty much everyone is looking to pass more. Like I know we talked, maybe a month and a half ago about Enes Kanter's just not being able to pass ever. And the last few games, when he gets double teamed in the post, he's kicking it out, which is, you didn't see early on. And I have to imagine that's a coaching adjustment, because it's the same thing with Michael Beasley. When people are sending double teams, all of the players are kicking out. And I have to imagine that's just the coaches being like, listen, if a double team comes, there's someone open, which every coach in the history of mankind has always said to their players. But apparently, the Knicks hadn't listened until recently, I guess. So good on you, Greg, for bringing that up.
Yeah, and Jake, what do you think about what Jeff's been up to?
Yeah, we got to give credit where credit's due, right? Is that not a corny term anymore? We gave him a little guff last week because, or
yeah,
maybe
he took out Frank in that fourth quarter.
He took out Frank in the fourth quarter, and we were giving him guff for not playing Frank and Kristaps together more, because they had some crazy plus-minus numbers together. And then we gave some excuses. Kristaps has been hurt a lot. Frank was still finding his spot, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, we're 16-13, 14-5 at home. I mean, this season has clearly exceeded expectations. At a certain point, you have to give the coach love. And yeah. I think the more important, with more and more advanced stats, you hear some that you roll your eyes at, and you hear, we were laughing at, what was it? Someone posted on the Knicks Reddit board something about Ron Baker having the most steals per minute if you only do it with guys that play over 14 and a half minutes or something like that.
Yeah. Kenny read it. Someone was like, Ron Baker leads the league in steals per 36 based on qualified players, but based on the definition of qualified players that I made up for this Reddit comment.
And for the record, the definition of qualified players for the NBA is you've played 70% of your team games, and Ron Baker has played 34% of his team's games, so he is nowhere near qualifying. And I think I told you guys before, if he plays the next, 42 in a row, 22, something crazy in a row, then he'll qualify. But right now, he just doesn't.
Well, and we're rooting for you, Ron. But stats are easy to skew. Some of the advanced ones are good. You need to know how to work them in with the eye test. That's kind of the whole game that stats has added to this. And, man, one of the unique thing about the Knicks is, I think we've seen almost every guy on the team in to finish games this year.
Hornacek's a hot hand guy.
Yeah. So, and you got to appreciate that as the player, because at the end of the day, that's, hey, if I do my job and play well, keep me out there, let me keep going. He's been doing well. We made a lot of Ron Baker jokes. They clearly believed in Ron Baker, and he's serviceable in doses. So kudos to that. And who right now on the Knicks is underperforming their expectations? I know that sounds like a crazy loaded question.
Billy.
Bill, he's the only one that, can't really get off the bench. I guess you could say Sessions, he was expected to be kind of our starting point guard, and now he's getting pushed back. But if I'm looking at a roster right now where I've got 10 guys exceeding expectation, yeah, give love to the players. You got to give love to the coach.
Yep. And I'm going to pull back on Ron Baker again, because I think that's my role on this podcast. Like, he does a lot of good stuff, and then sometimes he just does like the dumbest stuff ever. And it's like, Clyde actually got me good, because the other night, like, Ron Baker wasn't even in the game, and he was saying, "Oh, this person," or I think he was talking about Michael Beasley. He's like, he plays hard but not smart, like, kind of like Ron Baker. And Ron Baker wasn't even in the game, and like no one even noticed it. And I was just like, "What are you talking about, Clyde? I'm on the same page as you, but like, what are you doing?"
Yeah, that's funny. Another good Ron Baker quote from Clyde. I think I might have mentioned it last week, but when Ron Baker hit a three, and Clyde just said, "Is that his first points of the season?" And this is about a week ago. So
yeah, that was good.
It's like, Clyde. Mike Green was like, "No, he scored a couple before."
And Greggy, what was that stretch where and you're very good at identifying, and I was going to go with a Clyde word, but I didn't get it. But there's a perfect example in one of the games this week. I don't think it was OKC, but he did like two beautiful things and then just one of the worst passes or something like that.
Well, I'll think about it. But the first one that comes to mind was the Nets game. He hit a corner three open, and then very next possession decides to shoot a pull-up three without making a pass like 4 seconds into the shot clock. And it's like, no, Ron, don't do that.
There was another one in the Lakers game where he got a steal, he took it up court, and then he like tried to make a swaggy pass to thread the needle, and like he just passed it to the Thunder in the Thunder's game.
That was the first game of the season, right?
No, that was yesterday.
You did it again? You remember the first game of the season when he did the behind the back pass to Carmelo?
No, yeah, that was good. Good. This one was to someone else on the fast break.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah, he tried doing like a slap pass or something. It wasn't, yeah.
And then, was it last game where like he was running back on D and he just ran over his guy? Like,
that's one tactic.
Like it was in like a tight point of the game too, and he just like ran the guy he was defending over. Like I get it, you're trying hard, but like be better, man.
Yeah. He has been playing good defense. Played great offense in this game against the Thunder, so that's a plus. I mean, he had 2.5 good games this week. Didn't do anything against the Lakers. Played great defense against the Nets. Not really much on offense, and then I guess he was just good against the Thunder for the most part. But like we say, he does a lot of good stuff, and then he can't dribble the basketball. So we're against.
I think the big question is like, what is his role on this team? And I think this is the same question with Michael Beasley. Like, when Tim Hardaway Jr. comes back, who is Ron Baker playing over? Because like you look at this team, he's not playing over Frank. He's not playing over Doug.
Tim Hardaway Jr.
Good point.
Hey, we're on a four-game winning streak without him. Why? And like we mentioned, Jeff's a hot hand guy. Can't have too much of a good thing. So don't be surprised if Tim Hardaway Jr. becomes the next Joakim Noah. Big contract, just hanging out in a suit.
He wears T-shirts, like cool T-shirts.
No, you'd be very, very surprised if that would happen. That'd be the worst. I'd start rooting for another team. I wouldn't, but I would think about it, which I often do. And one thing I want to get back to, I don't know if you have any more things to say about whatever we were just talking about. I don't really remember. Ron Baker. No, we're done on that. We're done on that.
Back to Michael Beasley.
No, we gotta get back to Willie. Are we just forget about him? It's a lost cause at this point. We know what Jeff's plan is. He's actually trying to win. Like we said, he's a hot hand guy, and when you're a hot hand guy, you're also like a good player guy. You need to just play your best guys. And Kylo Quinn has shown that he is one of those people who deserves to be in the rotation. So, are we even upset that Willie's not playing anymore? I can't. Like from what I've seen from him, which hasn't been much at all. I can't really judge Willie and say how good he is because he hasn't played enough. But I also can't blame Jeff for not playing him from how good we've been as a team. So what are we thinking about Willie? We have to check back in on that. Kenny, what are you thinking?
So this kind of goes back to everything. I feel like we say this every couple weeks, that it all depends on where we are around the trade deadline. We have this crazy stretch coming up where we're just have a bunch of road games and we've been really bad on the road so far. So if things fall back to earth and we're falling out of the playoff picture, then we're going to start giving up pieces. Probably Kyle O'Quinn's gonna be on the trading block, and possibly Courtney Lee, and that's when Billy would come back into the rotation. If we're in it, then there's no reason for Billy to see any time. That's just how it is. Like, he's under a 3-year contract, so if we're in it for this year, we're fine kind of giving up that year and then reassessing next year.
Yeah, I can't argue that. What do you think, Jake?
I'm going to take a little bit of a different take, and I know it's kind of funny. Last year I was nervous and thinking about rebuilding in the upcoming seasons. after watching them win 4 straight, it's like get these boys some experience. I don't care if they go up against Boston or Cleveland. As long if they win one game, like this season's a massive success. The thing I will say is this success has allowed Knicks fans to think optimistically about the future, which usually is the exact opposite. And now it's kind of like, okay, so Kristaps has developed into what he has. We've got a bunch of useful rotation NBA players. Frank showing a lot of talent. Tim Hardaway Jr. can do it legit. So then you start saying, if we want to get this team to the next level, what do we need? And I know Tom's one of the biggest advocates, and we low-key are, but for Kristaps to be his best player and for the Knicks to be their best team, he's going to have to be a center one day. And
one day is the key.
But there's another twist to that if the Knicks do end up in the draft or whatever it is, because there's 2 ways to go with it. And last week we mentioned Julius Randle coming in, because Julius Randle would be interesting because we've mentioned that Kristaps' weakness right now is his passing. So Julius Randle is a power forward that can do some creating, this, that, and the other. On the offensive end, it's kind of a beautiful thing. Let Julius Randle do his thing, and that should work well with Kristaps and kind of take that creative load off of him. The other way you go with it is kind of bring in another long athletic center, and now you start dreaming up this freak defensive team where you have Kristaps and one of these young guys, a Mo Bamba, DeAndre Ayton. I don't know if you're an NBA person, you'd compare it to an DeAndre Jordan, Clint Capella, someone like that. And then you have this freak defensive lineup where you've got four 7'9" arms swinging around in the paint.
The Milwaukee Bucks. That's what the Bucks are trying to do.
Yeah. Long story short, I think either way, like this season's been a lot of fun. Cantor and Willie aren't the guys you pair with Kristaps at the end of the day. So, I mean, I still think Will Bill's a good ball player. He can get a lot of buckets and a lot of rebounds. He's still a sieve on defense, but he's still young. But either way, I don't think he's a fit with this team really. If the Knicks want to go where they want to go. So I don't know. With that being said, you want to get him minutes, you want to get him in the rotation or something like that. Ken's giving me an ugly face, but I want to hear from Greg's ugly face before I get to that one first.
Well, I'm thinking I see where you're coming from, but there's 48 minutes of the game. Maybe he's not going to be good crunch time, but he'd be good to eat up the first 3 quarters at least. So, I mean, obviously you'd like your starter to be able to finish the game though. So that mine was more of an optimistic view. I think Kenny has something mean to say, so let's hear it.
Yeah, I mean, I think these guys fit fine with Porzingis. Like they're deep burn. Like they're not great defensively, but like they can absorb the contact that Kristaps has said that he doesn't want to absorb, and like we've seen, he's gotten kind of nicked up lately. But the other thing is on the offensive side, like he doesn't drive like ever. So a lot of his stuff is mid-range or he's catching it on curls, and that's how he's getting to the hoop. Like he's not taking it to the basket kind of regularly. So the fact that you have a guy on the post that like warrants people actually defending him gives him space to operate in the mid-range and beyond. So I think that they're fine pairings with him, but that's my 2 cents.
Hey. I guess we'll find out in 3 years. So
no counter argument. Ken wins. Yeah.
We're gonna bet face tattoos again, like me and Tom. Don't think I forgot about that. Courtney Lee, if they trade him, first rounder, which you guys agree with that, right?
Yeah, and now I don't think we want to do, right? But another time.
But if we did.
Yeah, we'll check back in 3 years. We'll let you know if Willie Hernangomez is a good fit or if Tom has a face tattoo. But let's go on. The Knicks are currently in the 7th seed, tied for the 4th seed. We have to talk about it every day, whether we think this is a playoff team or not. I think they're tied for the 6th seed because the Wizards just lost today. So, are we? We're not tied for the 4th seed anymore because 2 other teams won. So we're just straight up the 6th seed. So what are you guys thinking? Well, obviously, I don't think we're going to end up being the 4 seed, but we are half a game back right now of it.
It's because we're going to be
So,
the 1 seed, right?
Bingo.
yeah. So how high can we go? Can we push our expectations higher than this 8 seed, or should we push our expectations down from this 8 seed? I'm sure Kenny wants us to not make the playoffs because he hates the Knicks, which he seems to have made abundantly clear as he roots against us week in, week out. But me and Jake are rooting for this to be a playoff team. Jake mentioned trying to get these guys experience earlier, and he's talking about playoff experience. Getting that win over the Celtics. And I mean, if Celtics are the 1 seed or whatever seed we play them, the Bulls were going to beat the Celtics last year, so let's just beat them. Who cares?
Yeah.
Are we making the playoffs, Ken? Did you change your mind yet? 4-game winning streak?
I've been saying it for a while that I think this upcoming this away streak will probably be the determining factor there. But like looking at the East, like based on how it's shaken out so far, like the top 3 teams are good, and then the Pistons are kind of wildly inconsistent. They've like lost 10 in a row, and now they like won their last 3. So I don't know what their deal is. Similar with the Pacers, they're either good or bad. Like the Bucks, the Wizards are the one team who are kind of falling back that I thought were going to be much higher.
John Wall's out. John Wall's been injured.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
But none of the teams outside of the top 3 have impressed me. So I think in the end it probably sorts itself out. I think the Wizards will be above us. I think the Bucks will probably figure things out. So I think we could be 6 to 8, somewhere in that range. I think it's possible. But I think we're probably gonna be around that 8th seed or just below. That's been kind of my standing point for the last few weeks, and I don't know that much has changed it.
It's a game of chicken because, like Kenny alluded to, the month of January will decide. If the Knicks can stay somewhere around 6 or 7 through January, oh baby, we have something. We have in January. Well, we open up at home against San Antonio, so pencil that as an easy W. But then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We have 12 road games in January as opposed to
4 home games, right?
As opposed to 4 home games. And again, I mentioned the first one is against San Antonio. So we're currently 2-8 on the road. We're going to find out. I mean, the thing that's got me a little scared right now is, I mean, we're definitely going to land in purgatory if we don't make the playoffs. Because we've been playing the past couple weeks without Tim Hardaway Jr., without Kristaps, and we're still getting W's because we're kind of playing the fun team basketball that I talked about, when I was dreaming of this team's best expectations, my preseason piece this year. Noodle the Doodle's being a real jerk right now, but we're gonna find out for sure in January. I think this will be my greedy thing. Up your expectation to a potential 7 seed. I think we can do that, and I know that still sounds a little pathetic, but man, this team has a little bit of that. Next man up. Who's got it tonight? Team basketball. Oh, Kristaps is out. Okay, we'll just run it through Michael Beasley.
Yeah.
If he has it and he wants to go for 30 tonight, cool. If he doesn't, all right, yank him, and okay, Courtney Lee, you're up. So it's kind of a fun concept, and I think the Knicks are deeper than a lot of teams. Is that like faux pas to say?
No, I think that can be said.
So January is the month to watch, and at this point, I don't know if I'm opening any Knicks fans' eyes that are saying go get that pick. We've got 16 wins right now. I mean, the Hawks might finish the year with that. So, I mean, if we play, I mean, we'd have to play incredibly bad basketball, which I've seen the Knicks do before. But, like, we've already played ourselves out of, like, a top 7 pick, which is kind of not a lock to be impact, but more likely than the rest of the draft. So at this point, if you're not rooting playoffs or bust, I don't know. I was going to say get on the bus, but I actually said playoffs or bust instead of bust. So that's where I'm at right now. So
yeah, I think you're right. I think the worst 6 teams in the league, the Bulls, Hawks, Suns, Kings, Grizzlies, Mavericks, are going to be the worst 6 teams in the league. So definitely out of the top 6. You could see, I mean, Lakers, Clippers are both bad. So yeah, out of top 7, I think you're right. I'll agree with you. We could move up to 7 or 6. Maybe it's 6. Yeah. So I believe the Celtics, Cavs, Raptors, Bucks, and Wizards, who are both behind us right now, I think those are the top 5 seeds in the East. I think the Bucks figure it out. They were doing well. They're on a 3-game losing streak right now, which is why they've dipped. But it's still early enough in the year for a 3-game losing streak to make you go from 4th to 7th that quickly. And John Wall's been out. The Wizards are just trying to tread water until he gets back. They got a plus 2.2 different point differential, which is it's good. It's really good for an 8 seed. They should probably be better than that. It's the 4th best in the East. So they'll figure it out when John Wall gets back, jump back up. So the Knicks are in the hunt for the 6th through the 8th. Brady God, they make the playoffs. But you never know. What do you got?
Just to kind of jumping on what Jake was saying about how, where we are with, what do we have, 15, 16 wins now? Last year, the Lakers were the 2nd worst record in the league with 17 wins all season. Then Brooklyn Nets with 21, Phoenix Suns with 23. So like Jake said, we're rapidly approaching these kind of numbers where it's looking like we're going to be towards the middle or back end of the ladder if we don't make the playoffs, just because of how well we performed in the early going.
Yeah, so but let's talk about what we got this upcoming week. One thing I also wanted to note, Jake made a little joke about the easy W over the Spurs, but the Knicks actually have a really good record over the Spurs in recent history. I don't have a stat with me.
So that's a rest game for Pop.
But it's true. And that's fine by me. Usually he wins his rest game, though. So that's the funny part. That's why he's the best. Knicks this week, we got the Hornets, the someone else, and the someone else. I had it written
Celtics
down.
and Pistons.
Knicks,
Celtics and Pistons.
Celtics and Pistons back to back. So those are our 3 games. What are we thinking this week? I kind of like the Hornets. I think they've just been playing bad. I'm kind of scared of them. I think that's the type of team the Knicks could lose to on the road, which since they lost to the Bulls on the road, who are now 5-0 since Mirotic returned. So maybe that wasn't as bad as a loss as we thought it was, but it actually was, even despite the 5-0 thing.
Yep.
We're going to root for the Knicks to beat the Hornets. We don't love our chances against the number 1 seed Celtics, but we don't.
But we're at home, so
Stop right there. Yeah,
we're not.
We're not kidding me at the Garden.
Yeah, we're not scared of them. That's definitely true.
I mean, the Garden's going to be jumping. It's Jake's pivot game of the week. That's obviously it. It's the middle game, and it's against the best team at home, while our other 2 games are on the road. I think you're saying it. Well, you're saying if you're Coach Hornacek, you're saying win every game. In my opinion.
Yeah, I think that's good coaching.
But a couple road games. Hey, we like Kemba personally because we like UConn. Hey, play one more bad game, Hornets, and then figure your stuff out. Your goal's to split the 2 road games this week, and then try to take down the Celtics at home. Man,
that's
I would.
Your goal?
Exactly. It's not like a real goal. I guess that's my hope.
You're gonna try to split the Hornets and Pistons and beat the Celtics?
Yeah, man. Dude, 14-5 at home.
It's a road thing.
Yeah, why don't you try to beat the Hornets and hope you beat the Celtics?
Well, so that's when the ball. I was getting there, by the way. That's when the ball really gets going. If say they win this Charlotte game, 5-game win streak. So now get the storylines going. 5-game win streak. We've got the Celtics at home. Games on TNT. Boston's come back down to earth a little bit, at least some of their percentages, shooting percentages, and the fact that they lost a game for a while there. But they haven't been as pretty. They lost
two.
Lost to the Bulls and the Jazz.
Lost to those same Bulls. They've gone every other win-loss for the past 6 games now. So they're past 6. They're 3-3 at the Spurs, at Bulls, home versus the Jazz. So they're becoming human again. And I mean, I'm a storyline guy. Go out and get Charlotte. Get those guys in our building on a 5-game win streak. And now you want to talk about Nick Mania blown up.
Yeah.
Boom. Boom.
Where do we fall if they go back to back, or if they win loss? Where do we fall in that?
We would fall for the Celtics. So they play the Pacers. Let me see if they have 2 games. They play the Pacers, which if we're betting people that believe in these trends, they have 2 games. Oh, and we get them off a back-to-back, guys.
That's a win,
guys. So yeah, they're at Indy, which would be the loss. They're home versus Miami, which would be the win, and then the loss at the Knicks.
There we go.
The game's a lock. That's
3-0 lock. You heard it here first on Talkin' Knicks. Knicks are going 3-0 this week.
Boom.
That's it.
All right. So my pivot game is kind of the Hornets game because I'm scared of them, but I think we should win it, and then we'll feel good about this week, even if we lose to the Celtics. If we pull out this game against the Pistons. I know earlier this year, when it might have been the second game of the season, when we didn't really know what we had in the Knicks jumped out to, I think, a 17-point lead or maybe a 20-point lead against the Pistons, and they blew it, and that wasn't good. So we know that we can play with the Pistons. We've shown that we can get a 20-point lead on them. We just need to be able to play a complete game, and we need to make sure that Kristaps is back this week. It seemed that he was a kind of a game-time decision for the Thunder. Some reports said that he was out like the previous day, but then like the Knicks Twitter account, like an hour before the game, was saying like he's talking to the doctors now, he's testing out his leg, and didn't say that he was out until like very close to game time. So hopefully he's back already for the Hornets game. If he is, we should win that one. Hornets have been struggling. They put up good fights against everybody. I think they might have beaten the Cavs twice already this year. So that shows you 2 of their 10 wins are against the Cavs. That might have been before the Cavs were doing a good job. But a win's a win. Hornets are capable of beating the Knicks. Hopefully we beat them instead. Talked about the Celtics game. Locked up W. And then this Pistons game. What do we win, loss? What are we saying? We're rooting for a 2-1 week?
So I think I'm rooting for a 2-1 week. I think all 3 of us have a different pivot game in a 3-game week, because I think the Pistons game is the pivot game. They were struggling for a while. They lost, I want to say 7 straight, but they've won their last 3. So, it's hard to say whether
won their last 3, including a 4-game win over Kevin McGovern's Magic. In their last game.
So they'll be the Magic, Pacers, and Hawks in their last 3.
I don't know if you remember how bad the Magic are from that time they beat us without Porzingis and Hardaway, but they were really, really bad.
Yeah. I know I'm not.
The Hawks are also really bad, but the Pistons are still the 4th seed, so they're a quality ball club. So I think that's my pivot game. I want to beat the Hornets. We hope we have that lock against the Celtics, and then Pistons pivot game.
Guys, I just decided I'm going full bull. 3-0, get the hype train going, and here's why. I've got some actual data besides that Boston win-loss thing. Charlotte's been playing bad. Charlotte has lost their last 3. In their last 13, they're 3-10. The wheels are kind of coming off in Charlotte. So I say we just hit them in the jugular. Boston, like I mentioned, the storyline game. But the other thing that's going on this week, and if you count the Thunder game, we're kind of reliving our start of the season. Those were our first 3 games. It was OKC, the Pistons, and Boston. And think about how much this team has changed from then, or your mind should immediately jump to the point guard situation. But, I mean, just the whole team morale and who's getting minutes. So I'm calling this as our kind of redemption for that first week of the year that Kenny doesn't count in the loss column because it didn't exist.
All right, yeah. And then another thing,
So-
if we win these 3 games, that's a 7-game win streak going into ESPN on Christmas. So that'd be big time. So that's why we should win 3 in a row this
I like
week.
it.
What do you got, Ken?
I feel like you mentioned it, but I feel like we gave kind of short shrift to the fact that we are still without Tim Hardaway Jr. and we don't know if Kristaps Porzingis will be playing the next game. Like, he was a game time decision in the last game, but at the end of the last game, Hornacek kind of said, well, we still don't know. Like, maybe he plays next game, maybe he doesn't. So, like, that's actually is a concern.
We got Michael Beasley, though.
Oh, no, you're right. Forget everything I just said.
And I'll just say it. We're Knicks fans. We're disgusting, ruined people. I mean, we just said we're going to go 3-0 over one of the top teams in the league, and without our 2 best players. So I just don't know. I just had to put that out there. So if next Sunday when we're doing this, if we're all crying about an 0-3 week, we can say that.
Yeah,
That said, 3-0, Michael Beasley, American League East All-Star game.
Yeah, I think Jake's official pick is 3-0. My official pick is 2-1.
I'm also 2-1.
Kenny's official pick is 2-1. So even then, we'd be winning 6 of 7 going into Christmas. And then happy holidays to everyone. You get to watch this dominant Knicks team on Christmas. What a gift.
And what's gonna be more interesting there if we are 6 of 7, 7 of 7, because Christmas is when the Knicks season the wheels fully came off last year. Well, it was one play in particular, the Marcus
Smart 3, of course.
So
we all know.
Are we gonna be max excitement, max fear then, or what are we thinking?
I think max excitement, right? I mean, it's the Sixers too. That's one of our main competitors for this 8 seed.
I like that.
I'm having Vietnam flashbacks to TJ McConnell.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
we're not going to talk about that. Let's forget that.
Yeah, so Kristaps shot a 3. I think he airballed it, and then TJ McConnell hit the game winner against us last year. The Knicks blew a 10-point lead with 2.5 minutes left in the game last year against the 76ers. We're not going to talk about it.
But that was last year.
And we're not going to talk about it. So
this is this year.
So any parting thoughts for anybody other than our worst nightmares coming true last season?
Nah, not really. Not really. I'm just looking forward to see Frank on Kemba.
Right.
I've been saying this kind of every week as I look to see who Frank could potentially match up to. Frank on Kemba, fun. Frank on Kyrie could be fun. Otherwise, it's going to be ugly. But hopefully he gets some good experience out of it, right?
Hey, Jake said we need experience, so
yeah, brought us, kept us level with that last talk. That being said, redemption for the first week of the year this week. Let's go Knicks.
3-0.
Hey, great talking Knicks with you guys. Great pod. You can follow us on Instagram or on Twitter. You can follow me on Instagram. I got a pretty good account.
Pretty good gram.
Birdstagrams.
Yeah, follow us on Twitter at Talkin Knicks. Tom does stat of the game. He writes up some stats. Tom went to Columbia Journalism School, so
Tom's wicked smart.
He's a good writer.
Writes for SB Nation's Pounding the Rock as well.
Kenny does our quick recaps of the game. Those are good too. He went to law school, so he's good too. Jake doesn't really do anything.
Yeah, I got a bad feeling how this ends for me.
Jake does Talkin Knicks.
Talking
Yanks.
Professional podcaster.
Jake's the most experienced podcaster. You can listen to him on Talkin Yanks. Are you still doing Talkin Huskies, or did you give up on that team?
Kind of. It's a little bit of both, babe. We've got a new one coming out soon, and then we'll start doing that weekly. So they had a big hiatus, but yeah, for anyone that's listening to us on here that's from Talkin Yanks or anything, we appreciate you.
Hey, thanks for listening.
Go Knicks.
Go Knicks.